Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're all excellent. Today we're going to do a quick little demo and review of the U4 wireless in-ear monitor system by Xvive. And it looks like this. So tiny, so compact, so cute. Let's do it. So aside from being nice and compact and convenient, this actually has some pretty impressive specs for the price. It normally runs about 350 Australian dollars, and you get the U4 receiver, which is a metal housing with a little plug for your ears, as well as an on-off switch, a volume control, and a selection between 7 different channels. I really like that there is a metal belt clip on this guy here, which is really, really nice. And there is also the transmitter, which isn't that much bigger than a kind of XLR jack. On there, you've also got the selection between 7 different channels, as well as a sensitivity control and an on-off switch. What's really cool is if you don't have an XLR output on your mixer, it comes with a little XLR to TRS converter. So that is very, very nice indeed. It broadcasts on the 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth, and you can run multiple receivers off one transmitter, and you can also run different transmitters on different channels and change channels on your receiver. So that'd be really good in like a film or TV style scenario. But most of us who are watching this, I guess, are going to be interested in using this in a couple of different ways for live performance with music. And I actually did 2 different road tests with this one. One was a situation where there was absolutely no monitoring. I had this in my gig bag and there was nothing for the singer. I was playing with a guitar cab for this particular gig, so I could hear myself. And the front of house was working, but there were no monitors, so I just gave this system to the singer. We ran it using the little TS or TRS converter. What is this? It's actually TS, so it's not TRS. And we ran that off the mixer, just did a really simple vocal mix for him, and he was super stoked with that. Then, a week later, doing a ragdoll show, I set up a totally independent in-ears mix for our singer, Ryan, running all the instruments through it, and he was similarly stoked on it as well. He couldn't get over how nice and tiny this was, and I'm actually going to give this to him to do some more road testing with for some other gigs that he does. So if you were using this with something like a Behringer XR18, which we are, very, very simple. You just basically take the transmitter and plug it into one of your aux channels. If you don't have something like that, if you've kind of just got like a kind of normal mini mixer or something like that, which I use for acoustic gigs, it doesn't have an XLR out, then you would use that converter. So those 2 gigs kind of covered both situations there. Now, trying to demo in-ear monitors is very, very subjective, and the experience is only going to be as good as the actual headphones you're using. So to get around that, what I figured I would do, I have recorded a clip DI from my Xvive. One is an XLR cable going straight to my interface, and the other is this guy going to the receiver and then going to my interface. So let's hear that clip. So it's definitely adding a bit of residual noise in there. I've got Wi-Fi going on in here and a bunch of other things. So you can hear that there is some of that. There's no unpleasant interference though, and the signal is very consistent. Furthermore, it's not actually affecting the quality of the guitar sound in there. It's just kind of adding in some noise. And I had the receiver absolutely cranked to do that. So that's kind of the worst case scenario in there. I've noticed that when I'm actually using it, I don't get the volume up past about halfway. The other thing that I tested by doing that clip is the latency on this unit. They claim there's less than 5 milliseconds of latency. I actually measured about 4.5 milliseconds of latency, so that actually stacks up, and that is imperceptible. There is going to be so much more going on with a wireless in-ears mix at a gig that I doubt you'll be very concerned about, 4.5 milliseconds of latency. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go and watch my video about latency that I did recently as well, which hopefully busts a few little myths. So there you go. That's how I used it for a couple of different gigs. Like I said, it's very, very difficult to kind of test this sort of thing over the medium of YouTube. So I did do a few gigs with it. I am going to hang on to it and use it because it's a great backup for my main in-ear system. It costs a fraction of that in-ear system, and it's actually a little bit easier to set up. You know, you don't need special cables or anything like that. You just plug the transmitter in and you plug the receiver in and you go. It's made really well. It's priced really well too, which, you know, this doesn't feel like a piece of junk for the money, which I think is really, really important. I have played with some cheaper in-ear systems and they feel cheap. This is solid metal. It's really nice. And, you know, if you're a semi-pro or you're somebody who just kind of plays on the weekends, or you're a guitar player who just basically wants to experience in-ears really, really easily, and especially if you're using something like an Axe Effects or a modeler, you can just plug this straight in. So there we go. That is a very brief overview of the U4 from Xvive. A full disclaimer, I was sent one of these to try out, but I am not being paid for this video. This is not a sponsored video. I am going to keep this in my guitar bag for gigs as a backup for my main system. And I'm actually going to use this for acoustic gigs, because a lot of the time when you're doing an acoustic gig, especially where I do them, you know, you can't even turn up very loud. The sound of the crowd is louder than the band. You're stuck in a corner, and a lot of the time it's a pretty lame experience. So being able to add this really easily to any little mixer and crank it up and have the sound of my guitar in my ears while I'm doing the gig, as well as vocals, is really, really nice. It means I don't have to take the XR18 and the Sennheiser G4 system and take a 5-space rack with me. I can just chuck that in. It's really, really nice. The other people that I had test it were pretty stoked with it and pretty impressed with the size. It is really, really well built for the money as well. Solid metal housing, the metal clip, you know, this kind of stuff is always really impressive. And Xvive make a few other cool little products. I think they're actually responsible for one of the chips that goes into classic analog delay bucket brigade circuits. So that's also kind of cool. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think of this kind of thing. Is this something that you would be interested in? Do you have one of these, or are you somebody using in-ears? And if you'd like to see more videos on like kind of in-ears tips, tricks, best practices, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.